as you guys know, she's here to join us for this little sit down chit chat. So don't mind her. I'm just gonna try to put her on the bed again. She just wants all my attention right now and she's being so annoying. Shh. Okay, I've been wanting to do this kind of like sit down chit chat style video with you guys for a while because I've been wanting to tell you guys the things that I wish I knew before starting IVF. So essentially these are the things that I think you guys should know if you're thinking about starting IVF that they really don't tell you. At least I wasn't really told up front, and I really wish I knew these things. If you hear crunching in the background, it's Lily again deciding to eat her food while I'm recording, so I apologize for that. As a lot of you know, going through IVF, it is a very complicated process. And although my clinic, I think, did a pretty good job educating me beforehand, I had to read a bunch of like education modules beforehand. There are some things that they just don't prepare you for, I think. So I'm gonna tell you the 5 things that I wish I knew before starting IVF and the things that I think you guys should know. And I'm gonna start with like the minor things at first, and then the last couple of things are like major that I really wished I knew before starting IVF. By the way, if you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I upload 1 to 2 videos a week all about living healthy. It's been about IVF a lot this year. Last video I did do a grocery haul, a Trader Joe's grocery haul. So I love doing grocery hauls. I love doing like nutrition videos, what I ate in a day, you know, sometimes workout videos, but my life has been consumed with IVF this past year. So I've been documenting my journey for you guys and actually documenting it for myself. So for those of you interested in my IVF journey, I do have a playlist and I have all the videos I've ever done on my IVF journey. I've vlogged my way through both egg retrieval processes and also my frozen embryo transfer. And also for those of you who are new, I did have my frozen embryo transfer July 1st. Still not revealing my pregnancy results. I know it's driving you guys nuts, but I'm not ready to say anything yet. All right, so let's get into the video. And for those of you about to start your IVF journey, I hope this video helps you. The first thing I wish I knew before starting IVF was just having a better understanding of how to give myself these stimulation injections. So I watched all these modules and did education on the injections beforehand through my fertility clinic, and I thought I had a good understanding until I actually got to the injections, and I was like, oh, I actually really don't know how to give these to myself. It looked easy on the videos, and now I'm like, shoot. So I figured it out, obviously, but it did actually take me a while the first time, and I think I did a pretty good job reflecting that it took me a while to figure it out the first time on my first IVF video, which I can link down below if you guys are interested in that. But yeah, and I think I was really confused on the menopore because the menopore, I had like double the dose, so I didn't know I could just like mix both vials together in one injection. So I was giving myself 2 separate injections of the same medication, and yeah, I just wish I had a little bit better understanding of the like how to give myself the injections. But after I did it the first couple times, it was easy for me. And I'm a nurse, so I should be able to figure this stuff out, but it's different when you're doing it on yourself. I like second guess myself. Am I doing this right? Like, I don't know why, like on patients, it seems so easy. On other people, it seems easy, but on myself, it's just different if you're the patient. So before you start any injections, just make sure like you have a good understanding of like how to give them to yourself, or if somebody else is gonna give them to you. Don't wait that night of giving yourself the first shots to like educate yourself on them. Just make sure that you do have a good understanding of how to give them like way beforehand. Second thing I wish I knew before starting IVF was just to know that this process is a really long process. So IVF looks different for every person. Like there's different variations of IVF. And I already knew that I had to do like the whole shebang of the stimulation and egg retrieval. And I already knew I was gonna do the genetic testing on the embryos, but I didn't know how long the genetic testing was gonna take on the embryos. And that would have to mean that the embryos would have to be frozen because I didn't know how long the genetic testing would take. And the genetic testing does take about 2 weeks, which means that they have to freeze your embryos. And then I didn't realize that you have to like reschedule your frozen embryo transfer or schedule it. So then that takes a while to schedule. So the whole like IVF process for me was really drawn out, and I didn't really anticipate it being that drawn out. So the whole IVF process for me took about 9 months, and that's because I had 2 cycles of egg retrieval, and then I had to wait a few months for the frozen embryo transfer just because of scheduling issues, and my clinic's really busy. The one that I go to, it's a really big clinic. And then also I did kind of want to wait a little bit for the frozen embryo transfer, but I'm such a planner. I would have liked to know that ahead of time, that like this is gonna take a while, like almost a year. But like I said, IVF is a little bit different for everyone. It might not take that long for you. It just did for me. Third thing I wish I knew before starting IVF is I kind of wish I could have predicted the future that I would need 2 cycles of egg retrieval, because I think it it would have mentally prepared myself for like the long haul, I paid for 2 cycles up front, and that's really why I did both cycles. But the first cycle, I only got 2 embryos, as a lot of you know from following my journey, 2 normal embryos out of 53 eggs, which I was so surprised at. When I met with the embryologist about it, she said, Brittany, it's just your age. Like at the time I was 35, almost 36. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with like your eggs or your ovaries. It's your eggs are older. And so they're not gonna produce the quality embryos that you want. I think I was just anticipating doing 1 egg retrieval process and not having to do a second one. I don't know if I just had high hopes for myself or what, but just knowing, I think ahead of time, that the reality is for my age, being 35, 36, in that age range, that I'll probably have to do at least 2 cycles of egg retrieval. And honestly, I probably should have done a third. I only got 3 normal embryos out of both egg retrieval surgeries. And I think that if I had a little more stamina and a little more money, I would probably do a third just to see if I could get more embryos. But I'm happy with the 3 that I have. And just as a side note, if you guys watching this are thinking about doing IVF and you're my age, you're kind of on the older side, advanced maternal age as they call it. We're not old, but we're older for having kids. Go ahead and do IVF before it's too late, because even with my age being 35 at the time, I was on the older side. And even though I'm really healthy, I don't really have any health problems, my eggs are old. And so even though like they got a bunch of eggs from me, the first time 53 eggs, the second time 17 eggs, I only got 3 normal embryos after the genetic testing. And I think that I would have been mentally better prepared if I kind of had known that ahead of time. But I'm so glad I didn't wait any longer on IVF, that I did it when I could, because I'm getting older, my eggs are older, and it's really hard to develop like normal viable embryos. Another side note, if you're thinking about doing the genetic testing on your embryos, do it, because it is so worth the money. I think I got 8 embryos out of the first cycle. Out of 53 eggs, I got 8 embryos. Out of the 8 embryos, only 2 were normal. So I did do a video on this. I don't remember which video it was, but I'll link it down below. I explained like how many eggs I got and then how many embryos developed. And then through the genetic testing, I only got 2 normal embryos, 2 viable embryos. And so out of those 8 embryos, I think 2 had Down syndrome, 1 had Turner syndrome, and the other ones just weren't viable. And so could you imagine if like one of those were transferred in me, and I probably would have miscarried, honestly. And the #1 reason for miscarriage is a poor embryo, not a viable embryo, or a lot of miscarriages actually happen because the embryo has Turner syndrome or Down syndrome and the body realizes that and discards it. So I'm so happy I got the genetic testing done. It is a little bit expensive. I think it is a few $1,000s I had to pay extra, but man, so worth it. 4th thing I wish I knew before starting IVF was how mentally challenging it was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be pretty mentally taxing, and I'm already a worrier and I'm already like an anxious person at kind of baseline. So I knew this was gonna be hard on me emotionally, but honestly, the mental toll that IVF took on me was more than the physical toll. And I thought that it was gonna be the opposite. Like physically, I was gonna be drained and I was gonna be bloated and weight gain and all that, which that happened, but it wasn't as extreme as I thought it was gonna be. Physically, actually, I was pretty good. I was fine. I mean, it took a toll on me for the temporary, but then after the egg retrieval surgeries, I bounced back pretty quickly, because physically I'm very healthy, but mentally it's just kind of, it was a struggle for me. I was second guessing myself all the time, and I'm a pretty happy person at heart, so that's also helpful, but I was constantly every day questioning like, is this the right thing for me to do? I also grew up pretty religious, so I'm like, am I playing God? I don't know. Like, is this morally right for me to do all this? And you know, the forking out all this money, is it worth it? So I think the mental toll this has had on me was a lot greater than the physical. And I wish I had known that ahead of time, because I could have kind of prepared a little bit better with maybe having some more like meditation apps on my phone, or maybe getting some therapies in place, like, I don't know, even a therapist I could go talk to, or it's just something in place that would help me a little bit mentally and emotionally. Maybe like set up a new bedtime routine with meditation, maybe a little bit of yoga and stretching, something like that, to prepare my mental health for this, because it kind of was a lot. So for those of you watching this tend to be on the anxious side, or you're about to start IVF, definitely get some things in place that help your anxiety, that you know help your anxiety, whether it's maybe doing some yoga, meditation, going for a walk, because you'll need it. #5, the thing that I most wish I knew before starting IVF was how drawn out the frozen embryo transfer process was gonna be for me. Now, everybody's different. Some people have to take more meds than others, but honestly, the frozen embryo transfer, not the transfer itself, not the procedure itself, that was easy, but the meds leading up to the frozen embryo transfer and the meds after the frozen embryo transfer were just horrific for me. And really the one that I'm referring to is the progesterone and oil injection. That's the intramuscular injection in the butt that I had to give to myself because no one else could give it for me. The frozen embryo transfer meds, so I had to be on 3 estrogen pills a day, so morning, noon, and night. I also had to do the progesterone and oil injection every night in my butt. I also had to do endometrium, which is progesterone, like vaginal suppository, twice a day. So all those medications, I think they started me on the estrogen pills 2 weeks before my transfer, and then I had to start the progesterone and oil injections and the vaginal suppository progesterone 5 days before my transfer. And let me tell you, those meds I felt, especially the injection, the intramuscular injection is no joke. I was so sore every single day, and giving that to myself was just torture because when you give yourself a shot in the butt, in the muscle, is so different than giving it like in the little fat pad in your stomach. It hurts so much more. It's such more of a process. I knew that the frozen embryo transfer procedure itself is easy. They basically just turkey base the embryo up in you and you're awake the whole time and it doesn't hurt and nothing's uncomfortable. Like that process to me was really magical and special, and it wasn't stressful. It was really easy, but it was the medications. Oh my gosh. And especially the shot, like I said, these stim meds, you know, the ones in the stomach, breeze compared to the progesterone oil injections. I did do an instructional video on kind of like my tips on how to have the progesterone oil injections be less painful. So I can link that video down below if you guys are interested in that. If you are looking at progesterone injections like I've been going through, you can watch that video and get some helpful tips from me. Hopefully they help you have less pain with those injections. Part of me was glad that I didn't know about all those meds for the frozen embryo transfer because maybe I wouldn't have even gone through IVF to begin with. But I just remember feeling so helpless and just being so distraught over, oh my gosh, I went through all this, went through 2 egg retrievals. I have these 3 viable embryos, these 3 healthy embryos, and I don't know if I can do these injections. I don't know if I can do these progesterone injections. And also for me, they said that if the transfer worked, I'd have to do them for the whole first trimester. So for basically 13 weeks, because I had to start them 5 days before the transfer and then 12 more weeks after that. So for 13 weeks, I would have to do these progesterone and oil injections in the butt every single day. And I just almost didn't go through with the transfer because I didn't know if I could do that, and just feeling so helpless, like going through halfway through IVF and then not being able to complete the rest of it, the transfer process. I felt so discouraged and hopeless. Of course, I did the frozen embryo transfer, as you guys know, got through that, but I think I could have better prepared myself for all that before IVF even started if I had known that. So for those of you who have told me that you only have to do your progesterone injections every other day or you don't have to do them at all, you are so lucky. I am so jealous. Okay, those are the 5 things I wish I knew before starting IVF. For those of you who are about to start IVF, this video is not meant to scare you. It's not meant to discourage you, but I don't want to sugarcoat anything because this process is different for everybody. But for me, it was mentally taxing, was mentally challenging. Good news is physically I did fine. I didn't really have that many side effects. For those of you who are new, I'll link some of the IVF videos down below you can check out. And I do have an IVF playlist like I mentioned before. All in all though, I'm so glad I went through it because I didn't want to get into my 40s and regret not doing IVF because I do want kids and I know that I can't have them on my own. So I didn't want to regret my life looking back. So IVF was so worth it for me. Those of you about to start your IVF journey, you got this, you can do it. We are strong. Remember, we are IVF warriors. Feel free to reach out anytime if you need any encouragement, if you have any questions, if you need anything clarified, I'm here for you. Those of you going through IVF, you also got this. Remember to stay strong, take care of yourself. This is the time to take care of yourself and to put yourself number 1. Give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful, if you liked it. I will see you in the next one, and always remember to be kind to yourself.